All right, so this is the official marker for the episode with Bob Moulton from National Pawn. All right, before he jumped into the pawn industry, Bob Moulton was a computer programmer and an on-air radio personality. He started in the pawn business in 1984 and shortly after opened his first store, National Pawn. Currently, National Pawn is 16 stores strong, opening number 17 in 90 days, and employs over 130 people. He received both the NPA's Pawnbroker of the Year and Outstanding Community Relations Award, along with the local awards for integrity, entrepreneurship, business, and marketing. Bob loves to travel, loves boating, watches, and microcars, and it's my honor to have Bob Moulton on the podcast. Bob, welcome, and thank you so much for being on.
No worries. Thank you for inviting me, Yigal.
So, I've been doing this podcast for a short while, not too long. We're about 7 episodes in. And I've heard your name thrown around 3 times already that you need to come on the podcast. Also, while I was in the industry, you were around. You were, they consider you like a legend of the pawn industry. So it's my honor to have you. And I can't wait to jump into the information. So thanks for being on.
Thank you, sir.
So tell me, give me some history. You were on-air radio personality, computer programming, and what got you into the pawn industry in 1984?
Well, actually, our family had 2 uncles in the pawn business, and they both, one of which sold his store, and my mother decided to open a store, and I moved back to our hometown of Durham, and I worked with her while I looked for another job on the radio, and found out I really loved the pawn business. So that's how we got into it.
Nice. So you opened up your store in 1987.
Correct.
Your first shop.
Yes, sir.
Right? How was that when you opened up your first store?
It was tough. I mean, I don't know how you would do it today. I guess I was stupid at the time and didn't realize that it took so much money and so much hard work. And I probably made 0 money and received no paycheck for the first 2 years, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I was in the same boat. We opened in the first 3 years, we were in the red. It took some time. So I feel you there. So you went from opening 1 store. How long after that did you open up a second shop?
A couple of years. We opened 3 fairly quickly, and then for some reason waited a few years and opened number 4 and 5, and took a really long break till we purchased store number 6, and then 7 and 8, and we've added a lot of stores recently, which, being in 30 years in business, amazingly put a hammer on our cash flow. I mean, we're very profitable, but when you open a lot of stores at once, it's tough to cash flow those.
I'm sure. Let's talk about something really quick before we move on. We have 16 different countries listening to the podcast. What are the laws in your area when it comes to interest and hold periods?
Okay, in North Carolina, we're a 90 days, so it's 30 days with a 60-day past any due date. North Carolina is a kind of a hybrid state. We're in the South, and so we do get a 20% fee plus a 2% interest. However, the 20% is capped at $100. And so on a big loan, say someone came in with wanted a $10,000 loan on the Rolex, it only generates a $300 fee, which I believe may be the lowest in the country. So anything over $500, you only get 2% more per month.
Gotcha. So it's tiered depending on.
Correct. Yes, sir. It's the 20% caps out at $100, and it actually drops $100 the first month, then $75 the second month, $75 the third, then it drops to $50 a month plus the 2%.
Gotcha. Now you're up to 130 employees.
Yes, sir.
How is that managing that many people, and what is it about your culture that creates such a good, such a good vibe in the stores?
Well, we're all about building a culture, and we're all about hiring the best and the brightest. And I believe that is what makes us so successful and makes it easier to run. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's the span of control. But the people that you have running it they're brilliant. And that is the secret to our success. We've managed to attract some incredibly talented people on our team that actually, and I've told them this individually, they act like they own the business. And part of National Pawn's culture is everybody gets a piece of the action. So if you are successful, you have bonuses that are tied to the productivity and your profitability. So everyone is in some sense, treated as an owner.
And I think that's every owner's dream, right? To have employees or team members who treat the business like their own.
It is actually shocking that we are able to, I'm not shocked, that attract the people. I'm amazed that they're willing to come on board and believe in our dream and help us to succeed. And it's an honor actually to come to work with them every day. And a lot of times when I feel kind of discouraged and I'm tired of dealing with the people, I'm tired of the day-to-day grind, and I'll go in and talk to some of our people and think, wow, these people are just so passionate, and it reflects down on me and makes me want to get up in the morning and go just work with them and be around them and to learn. I'm learning every day.
That's amazing. Bob, how do you instill that passion into team members? I've had conversations before with other pawnbrokers, and some pawnbrokers, think negatively. They say, I can only hire people who want some money. And then you come out and you say, I've got passionate employees about working at the pawn shop. How do you get to that?
Well, the number one thing on our mission statement is that we want to have the wealthiest and highest paid team members in the industry.
Wow.
For our culture of trust and accountability. And that's the key thing is, we trust them and they're free to do what they want to do. I will never criticize or talk bad or second guess anyone's business decision. Sometimes I'll call them, why did you do ABC? And if they have a very logical reasoning behind it, fantastic. Okay, that didn't work. Let's learn from it and go again. So that's.
I love that. Trust, in a business where we're surrounded by tens of thousands of dollars of cash in the store, hundreds of thousands of dollars of jewelry, sometimes millions in inventory, and you're sitting here talking about trusting your employees. When did you decide, or what happened that you said, you know what, I need to trust my people so that I can have a successful business?
You have to trust them. I mean, if you cannot trust them, you need to get out of business, or you had just be your own single man shop.
And so the secret to growing stores is having that trust.
It is having trust, but you have to define the quality of people and be willing to pay them. So
I love that. Be willing to pay them.
Right.
I think that your mission statement says something that I've heard for many years in the industry, but many pawnbrokers don't break down that wall to get through, which is having the wealthiest and the best paid people in the industry. And sometimes in other industries when it comes to retail.
No, that's absolutely true. And I talk to pawnbrokers all around the country, and probably they make a lot more money than we do. And you have one guy or one per woman, and they run the store and they hire $8-10 an hour clerks, and that's all they make. But unfortunately, those $8-10 hour people, I'm not saying they're dishonest, but they would be more likely to steal than someone that you are paying a fair wage and giving them their own chance to make their own raise.
Yeah. Plus, we get into business to have some freedom. And if we don't trust the people who are running the shops, how do we in turn have freedom, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So, Bob, let's talk about some of the mistakes that you've made and some things that you can tell people listening to watch out for. What are, 2 or 3 of the biggest mistakes that you've made while growing into 16 stores currently?
Growing too quickly could possibly be a mistake if you're undercapitalized or mainly under staffed, because you actually have to have the staff trained in place if you want to grow. You can't, in the pawn industry, you just can't hire someone to manage a store and stick them in there. We've done it in the past and it just does not work. It really takes a couple of years, minimum 2-3 years, working the counter every day to really understand the nuances of the pawn business, because it is, in my opinion, the most fun business I've ever been in, because every day is something different. I tell people it's like at the fish market, we have fresh daily.
Yeah.
And you get somebody, one person comes in and has a piece of junk, $5 drill, and that's maybe all they have. And then the next person walks in with a $20,000 diamond. So it's very, to me, interesting. Plus, I'm a people person and I like to talk to people. But of late, some of the biggest mistake we've made lately is trying to grow some big giant buildings have big footprint stores. We had one store that I think was just in the right place at the right time that grew, and I wish it was a little larger. And so I decided that old Field of Dreams motto, if you build it, they will come. And so we built two other really big footprint stores, and they really didn't make any money. It took a lot more staff to run them. And actually all three of our really big stores, we've actually shrunk down the showroom and the pawn area of both of them, some of them twice. And so, because I was all impressed with Brad Rixman up in Pawn America in Minnesota. He had these big, beautiful stores, and it's tough to do that. It looks good, but we really didn't make any money.
Yeah, I agree with you. I understand. So what is training for an employee of National Pawn look like? You say that you don't just throw them in the counter. You really, really look at the training and you make them grow as a pawnbroker. What does it look like? So I come in, I'm hired. And what does that look like for me to walk into a store and start working with you guys?
Well, they would come into the store and we'd either assign them someone to work with them as a coach, but a lot of times the manager will work with them and they'll start out learning the computer and just learning some basic stuff and writing the transactions, interacting with the customers. We do try to hire people that are very energetic people persons, and we use that TTS, the Thirst and Temperament Survey, to kind of judge whether or not they have the type of personality that we think would work.
Nice.
And other than that, it's just time that they use. We do have formalized training. We have some SMART camps, 4 or 5 of those a year every month. In the summer, we'll have a SMART camp, which managers and assistant managers and pawnbrokers will come by invitation only. You know, the people that we see that want to learn, and they'll come for 2 days of training, and it's really nice and hands-on. And we just got a new team member on board that does webinar trainings every month. So every single person in the company gets the exact same message, because you know, as well as I do, the old telephone game, you know, we would tell the managers and the managers told the assistant managers, and by the time it got to the pawnbrokers, it had changed. So we wanted to get a consistent message.
I love that. So your pawnbrokers are consistently being trained. There's consistently, you're having training boot camps, webinars. So there's always something for them to look forward to learning more.
Correct.
And growing.
And the people love it. I mean, and peer-to-peer training we find is really good too, because we have everybody has their superstars, and we have some superstars, and the superstars actually love giving the opportunity to share their knowledge and best practices with some of the new people to help them succeed.
Let's talk about those superstars really quick, because the podcast isn't just listened to by owners. We have managers and we have team members who are listening. What makes a superstar pawnbroker?
Just someone that one, they have to produce, but they have to have our company values, and they have to just present what we see as the face of National Pawn. I think that is something that we have been successful and been recognized for, and it's a line that I come up with. We say we're changing the perception of the pawn business one customer at a time. And we did a bunch of advertising years ago, and I actually hired a focus group because I said, I want to go after the non-traditional pawn customers. I think you guys out in California years and years ago did some study that only 6 or 7% of the population had ever even been in a pawn shop or ever did business with a pawn shop. So I'm thinking, if I can get 5 or 6% of the population more, I double my customer base. I said, wow. And so we hired a focus group of non-traditional pawn customers and asked them their pros, what they preconceived notions of the pawn business and various other things. And unfortunately, as well or better than I do, your family's been in the pawn business for years, that it is so wrong. The stereotypes are horrible. And it was that, some big fat bald-headed guy standing behind a cage ripping people off all day. And there's nothing further from the truth. And so we have redesigned our stores, had these more retail-based environment, and I didn't dress up for your podcast. I wear a shirt and tie every day. All the men in our stores have to wear a white shirt and a tie, and black pants, or a suit, and the women have to wear a black skirt or black pants and a white shirt, and it makes us look more like the people's bank. And so we treat our customers right. So.
Nice. I love it. So the superstar pawnbrokers know to go along with that value system and that mission of changing the conception of the pawn industry one customer at a time.
Yeah, well, we get another thing of our mission statement is to give world-class customer service. And I noticed that one day when I was at the bank. Here I am at the bank, and I thought to myself, and actually the next time we had a meeting, I congratulated the people that work for us. I said, we give better service to the guy wanting to get a loan on this $10 drill than they gave me at the bank. So
yeah.
that's
I think that's
what it's
missing
about. And that's actually what we feel is the way to combat a lot of the online and other competition that we have is customer service. Amazon, they can give customer service, but a lot of stuff is just faceless. So when you can thank people for doing business with you, amazingly, just a thank you goes a long way.
Yeah, it's incredible to me to see how so many retail establishments today, not just in the pawn business, have such horrible customer service and don't train or don't mention it to their employees or don't hire the right team members like you do with the mission statement, because that's our bloodline, right? If you want somebody to come back, they have to feel so welcome and so appreciated that they're going to want to come back and even just refer your business to somebody else.
You're absolutely right.
So I want to touch up on something else that I think you're extremely masterful at, and not just because of the awards that you have in entrepreneurship and business and marketing, but what I've seen over the years when it comes to the PR coming out of National Pawn, which is community.
Yes, sir.
You give back to the community in a way that most pawnbrokers don't realize is important to do.
Well, we don't do it for the PR, although the PR is fantastic and it does help us defeat that stereotype. But our main thing that we've been doing is the musical instrument donations. That's the number one, but we give away tens of thousands of high school scholarships. We had a Mother's Day contest and gave school supplies to the schools, and we've done a lot. But the thing, and a lot of people have tried to replicate it, and that's fine. They're welcome to do the musical instrument donation because, trust me, the kids really need it. But what makes that so powerful is because it comes from a place that happened to me personally as a kid. I grew up and our family didn't have a whole lot of money. I mean, we weren't dirt poor. We had a roof over our head and food, but both of my parents worked, and it was a struggle for my two sisters and myself and my parents. And I wanted to play in the band in the 7th grade, and $25 back in the 70s was a lot of money for my parents to fit in their budget. And most of $25, in the mid 70s for very lowest rung of middle class, that was tough. And so that is why I give the instruments back, because I'm in a position to do that. And I know what it was like to come from a place that you didn't have an instrument. So that to me is what makes that so powerful. So anybody that asks me, I advise them to take something in their past. You may have been adopted or in an orphanage or played baseball as a kid and couldn't afford a uniform or whatever it is, but find that personal message to you, and then you give back to the community. You will find it's very meaningful for yourself, but you'll find a lot more community acceptance as well. And if you don't have any experiences, animals or I've never done it, but my buddy Alan Shepard, a pawnbroker in Asheville, said he does a lot of charity, and actually he's the one that got me doing a lot of charities. And he said that he did something for some animals one time and said that they got a lot of publicity for it and a lot of positive press.
Yeah, and I love that you connected it to a story from your past, and therefore it's from the heart as opposed to thinking,
correct,
how can I give back just to give PR? Or just to get PR.
But if you want to trust me, give back, because it all goes to help us combat the image of this pawnbroker out there taking advantage of people. We're not taking advantage of people. We're actually a vital cog in the economy because we are the lender of last resort. I mean, that in itself doesn't sound that great, but that's where it is. The bank, you can't borrow any money from the bank, and your family may not want to lend you any more money. So you need to keep the power turned on. So you need to take your television down there and borrow $100 to keep your power turned off. We are, valuable. We service a valuable need that no one else is servicing.
It's one of the reasons why I started the podcast, Bob, was I wanted pawnbrokers to realize that they need to become leaders in their community in order to grow their operation. I think it's super important, as well as to grow as a person. Because when you give back, I saw the picture of you handing out, I think it was like 100 instruments or something like that to the local school. And the smile on your face said it all.
When you see those kids hold those instruments, that is what makes it for me. Actually, this year, we did that in 8 separate school districts. We gave out over 100 instruments per school district. So we gave out 800, and it was around 125. So about 1,000 instruments just this year. And every school district also got a check for 2,000. So it was $16,000. I mean, it's not cheap to do that. And that comes straight off the bottom line. But you know what? I don't care, because it's important to me to give back to the community. And it makes National Pawn, perceived as being a valuable community leader versus a lot of people in these smaller towns and even big towns. You go to open a store and no one wants the pawnbroker there, and they're fighting you in zoning, and the neighbors hate you because you're perceived to be a negative influence on the community. That does not happen to National Pawn, because we go in there, oh, you guys are great, and we bring them into the store if we have a problem, show them what a pawn is like. It's not, and tell them it's not like you see in the movies.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you're a pawnbroker listening to this and you're thinking, wow, Bob Moulton, National Pawn, 17 stores, they have the money to do it. You can also start by giving something. Maybe you have 5 guitars lying around your store that you can donate, right? You can donate something to the school, something that's in your heart that you want to give back to the community. Do that so that we can change the industry, like you said, the image of the industry, one person at a time. And I love that. And I agree. In our time at Cashco Pawn, we had something called Cashco Kids, and we gave backpacks away for schools, and we donated to schools. And when a customer would walk in and say they had no money to bury their brother, we raised funds for funerals. And that's what allowed us to be so prominent in the community. And the craziest part, Bob, was that we had a pawn shop down the road on the left side get robbed. We had a pawn shop down the road on the right side get robbed. But thank God, knock on wood, we never had anything happen to us because we gave back.
Correct.
So it's super important. I agree, and I love that. So how does one, doing what you do and the awards that you've got marketing awards, entrepreneurship awards, how does one go about in the pawnbroking industry to grow in those sectors, marketing, entrepreneurship? What do they need to do to grow as a business owner?
Well, I guess the marketing, I actually have a little background of marketing because of my time in the radio. And actually, we won that marketing award. We won was actually a very prestigious international award. And it was just an idea actually I came up with as a joke. It was back when the Mayan calendar and everyone thought the world was going to end in 2012 or 13 or 14, whatever. And I came up with this idea, and we took out a big ad in the newspaper saying that if the world ended, we were going to give the guarantee of all guarantees. We were going to refund everybody every penny they'd ever spent in National Pawn, which was funny because if the world ended, they wouldn't be around to collect on it. But the guy that I was working with submitted that, and we won out of it's like 6,000 international entries, and we won the silver. And it came with this like 30-pound gigantic crystal award. It was pretty cool. But that actually was, according to my advertising buddy, a really big deal.
No, that's amazing.
But marketing is not going after what you are. You have to look at what your customer base is or who you want to attract, and you market to them. But marketing today is not what it was before, because I'll be honest with you, television, maybe radio, but television is very expensive. Millennials and the younger people that are our customers now don't watch a lot of television. They watch streaming, and they're on their phones, and there's all this digital marketing, and it's trackable, but I have yet honestly to figure it out. I mean, we have a lot of people come in and try to sell us on it, but we haven't found a whole lot that's very powerful yet that works. So The marketing is tough. Word of mouth is still your best thing. We're about location, location, location. Our stores, we will only put stores in certain criteria, such as I'll standalone stores on a busy street, because I want people to see that we're there and hopefully don't have to market as much. They'll ride by and just decide to stop in. And that's worked. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah. Plus the what you have in the community, the leadership that you guys have built there, I think allows for you to put up a store and people to say, let me walk in and help support National because they're supporting the community.
Well, I do, but our stores are totally different. We do not put bars on the windows. All of our new stores, we don't carry guns. I know a lot of guys are really into guns. I find that the guns, the paperwork is to me is not worth it. I mean, I'm not anti-gun or pro-gun. It's just they're a pain and you don't really make a whole lot of money. I know in the past, the gun business was really big and we lost a lot of money by not being more in the gun business. But all of our new stores, they do not have guns, and we don't have the break-ins. Without guns, we don't have the break-ins we used to have, but we'd have to put bars and stuff up. But we have rolled down security gates at most of them.
Yeah, nice. So what's the leadership development look like at National Pawn? You said you got some superstars. Do you train your management a certain way? Do you give them something else that makes them, the best in the industry?
We do have a formal training program that has steps, and they check off about that they've learned certain tasks. We've tried hiring people from outside the industry. Some of those work, some of those really may not, because we thought that we just need to pay more. So a couple of years ago, we were hiring and paying a lot of money to these big box managers of grocery stores and big retail places that are used to dealing with a lot of people. But we find that they, by and large, they just come from with a different set of skill sets. They're fantastic people and fantastic at what they do. But really, to be a good pawn store manager, you need to have an entrepreneurial spirit, because you are there in charge of buying your inventory. You don't unload the truck and sell what someone else sends you. And that's where we find some of these people struggle, because it's tough. They're great at selling and retailing and setting up the store, but they're struggling on taking the stuff in. And that's where the art of pawnbroking is anyway, at the pawn counter when you take it in. Nice.
And are you a hands-on owner? Do you go to your stores, walk around, see what's happening? Are you more of a operations guy sitting in an office and making sure that everything's running properly?
I hate to sit in an office, but unfortunately I seem to be doing that a lot more. I like to go into the store and say hello to people and tell them they did a good job. And I actually watch the numbers every day. And so I can go in and, hey, Susan, great job selling that bracelet yesterday, or what little individual things. So people like to be recognized and appreciated. So
yeah, I agree. Great, Bob. Well, thank you so much for being on. One more last question. What do you do for fun?
I like to travel. I mean, that's my thing. My wife and I love to travel, and I'm old, but I'm not too old. And so we're trying to travel now while we're in really good shape and able to do it, because we go on trips out of the country and we see some older people, in their 70s or so. And they said, I wish I would have done that when I was younger. And it makes me feel good. They say I'm young, but they're absolutely right. Because I hear all these stories of people that save all their money and they retire at 65, and all of a sudden they have a health problem with their bad knee, and they can't do the things that they dreamed their whole life of doing. So I'm just going to do it now. You're not promised tomorrow.
Well, I always bring up my father. My father is a pawnbroker, had 12 stores, 100+ employees. And at the age of 58, got Parkinson's and dementia. And now he's got caregivers and can't travel. He can't do what he always wanted to do. So I love what you said there, Bob. You love to travel and do it now while you're healthy. So if you're listening to this, we open our pawn shops to have freedom and to make money and to enjoy life. If you're working 7 days a week, 14 hours a day, at some point, you're going to break. Something's going to happen. So enjoy life. I think that's super important, to travel, enjoy life, and do what you love to do while still making money in the pawn industry. Bob, thank you. It's been a pleasure and honor to have you on.
Oh, thank you so much, Yigal.
Thank you so much. And to the listeners, don't forget, we've got the Facebook group, the Pawn Leaders Podcast Community. Check it out. And for more information on how to be a better leader in the pawn industry, go to pawnleaders.com. Check that out. And please, if you enjoy the show, leave a review, It helps me out. It helps the show out so that more pawnbrokers can listen to it. Thanks a lot. Have an incredible day. And Bob, once again, I appreciate you being on.
Thank you, sir.